Schweihs.
Thank you so much.
And she's actually a great TV personality. She stirred a lot of questions and a lot of people when she was on that hit show Mob Wives of Chicago.
Yes, I sure did.
But behind all of this TV and popularity, Nora is a great businesswoman. And one of her new ventures is the wine that she's created called the German. So this is the wine. And talk about the wine, the name, and everything else. We are here exclusively with Nora.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure. It's an honor.
And we're here at the place which is called the Cornerstone. It's a cute little restaurant, which is a beautiful place in downtown New York. And Nora's display will be of her wine will be first showcased in this particular restaurant. So Nora, I know that there are a lot of controversy about your family, about your life, and going back when you were growing up, with this exclusive interview, could you tell me how it was growing up in the family? What was the environment like, and what do you remember the most about your family, your parents?
Basically, you know, like everybody says, we were just born into this world. We really don't have a choice, and it's, you know, our parents brought us here, and you know what, my father and my mother were, and I have to mention my grandmother, I mean, they were our icon. You know, my father was known as a businessman. As I was growing up, I mean, yes, I was a princess. So they say, you know, did I know this was my lifestyle until I was about 7 or 8 when the G-men would come and raid our home. That was about the time I remember. You know, my dad grew up, made me grow up in a predominantly very wealthy, upscale, you know, area, and there was 5 families that we had moved to Riverside, Illinois, and he wanted a life for us. You know, he had the most exclusive jazz club that is written in books, and if you look at the best jazz clubs in Chicago, you'll see the Plug Nickel where Herbie Mann and B.B. King and Miles Davis, and that was in the 60s with my uncle. And then, you know, from there it went on to being a, you know, a renowned steakhouse. So for my dad, I thought he was a businessman, you know. Our life, I was born to me into royalty because, you know, we have the best of everything. I never ever wanted for less, and I always was the first one to have, you know, the Schwinn bicycle on the block, and, you know, certifications and, you know, fine dining, and that was just my lifestyle. I have an older brother and sister, so I was sort of the baby. As you could say, I was his little princess. So basically, you know, there's pros and cons to what they say in Chicago. We say the outfit, we don't say the mob. But my father was to me just a father, and that's what people don't understand. And that was the hardest part of growing up, because the things and the sadness that I went through had nothing to do with my father, and people don't really realize that. And I am writing an autobiography, so that a lot of it in more depth detail will be about the, you know, the feelings and things. But, you know, I remember I was maybe 17 and that story about on the front page that my father killed Marilyn Monroe. I mean, and then it was the Days of Thunder book that my father killed the guy from the cigarette boat. But yet everybody was always convicted. I mean, not my father. So it's just a very difficult life. The sad thing is just you're very well liked, or you're very well hated, or you're everybody wants to hang out with you, or everybody doesn't want to be with you. So it's a very controversial life.
Absolutely. And then we actually have the cover of Marilyn.
I understand. Of course. I mean, I'm sure that's what intrigues the whole world, and thank you for having me, because when I met you, when coming to New York was a very good move for me, because I'm very well accepted here, way better than in Chicago.
What is the difference between Chicago and New York, you would say? Like, why New York attracts you more than Chicago?
The thing with Chicago, I was gone for 8 years, and I left in 01. My father had done 10 years, and then my father came back to Chicago. And after 10 years, and then his whole life was basically in Florida, so him and I had moved to Florida, and I left Chicago per se, you know, in 2001, and returned in 2008 when he went fugitive. And and then he was captured and went back to Chicago. So the thing with Chicago when I returned is nobody really stuck together, and I would say the families, you know, my dad was the last of the Mohicans, most of his friends had died, there was only, you know, he was in his 70s, and it was just a very different world. Everybody was just not together. When I arrived in New York to do the cancer event, which I met Gigi, who owns this restaurant, we're all really connected, you know, and New York does not forget the roots, and that's why I love it here. Because Chicago, I think, forgot the roots, and New York really sticks together, and their families stick together, and they don't forget where they came from. Whether it's the mafia or the outfit or whatever people may say, you're not looked down upon as much as Chicago is growing up in this lifestyle. In New York, it's more accepted. In Chicago now, they pretend like there's no such thing as a mob anymore, which is the most corrupt city in the world. So, I mean, really, it's amazing.
Now, if you were coming back a little bit to the history, to Maryland, and I know there was a time with the JFK, with his brother, with Maryland, with Frank Sinatra. I know that your father was in the circle as well.
Absolutely. I mean, they all were. My dad lived in Florida, you know. My sister remembers a little bit more because I was a little bit younger, but, you know, I was my dad's best friend, so I did live with him for Florida for 8 years, and we were inseparable, and that's where a lot of these stories that I never had a chance to actually know my father. I never lived with him until after he returned after 10 years in jail, and we became best friends. I had the best opportunity in my life. I gave up everything. I moved to Florida, and you know, it was the best part of my life. So I've learned a lot. He taught me while I was there, and I learned a lot about him. And that's why I decided to write the book as well, because it's time to tell my story and not the public story, which is not the truth.
And I know that you cannot reveal too much information, but you know, as far as like talking to your dad and the information that he told you, what do you think was the most shocking for you to find out? Like maybe just give us a glimpse a little bit on what was going on at the time.
What was the most shocking? That the public was so wrong, that he was the most giving, respected man no matter where he walked in. People didn't fear him. I mean, when I was growing up in media, he was the most feared hitman in the whole entire world. Nobody feared him from what I could see. Everybody loved him. He would give his shirt off his back. I mean, everywhere we went, it was respect, dignity. One thing I can say about my father that I've learned in life, my father never lied, and that's why I can't stand when people, you know, fabricate, because, you know, once you start lying, he taught me never to lie, and that's where I come from.
And then he knew Marilyn personally, right?
I mean, they all hung in the same circle, from what I can say, you know. Did he kill Marilyn Monroe? I mean, everybody knows the details, but, you know, she was his icon. I mean, she loved her. Who didn't love Marilyn Monroe? I mean, you know, she was the most beautiful woman in those days, and, you know, they all hung out. They hung at the, you know, they were down at the Fontainebleau, they were down at the Thunderbird. So, you know, that's the big story, and that's why I wrote the book, because the truth will be told, and the whole lifestyle will be told. And the book's not about my father, it's about me, my father, and me personally growing up in this lifestyle. So, all I can say is, so did he kill her, or was he madly in love with her? I guess everybody's going to have to wait and see what. I have to take the fifth right now, but it will be revealed.
And then, growing up in the family like this, can you tell me, like, was it intensive to grow up, or did you ever knew what was going on? Because, you know, I'm sure he would never, you know, keep his business inside the family when he was never coming home. So as you remember your dad, what is the memory that you have that comes to you the most at the time?
I don't know, I just thought he was a big shot, because everywhere we went, I had the red carpet, Chateau Lafitte, you know, caviar and diamonds and furs. So, you know, we did have a restaurant. And the only one that ever crushed my life was when the G-men would come and, you know, raid our homes and embarrass us and then put us in the paper. But they never had anything. So to me, my father was so classy. No matter where we walked in, I never waited in line. I had the best of everything. A car at 16, you know. So I mean, I didn't really think about that, but I did have the people also. And if you saw the movie, I mean the show, you know that when I was a little girl, I had like 20 people at my birthday party, and they had raided our house in Riverside, and you know, the one girlfriend that was Greek that accepted us was like, no one's showing up for your birthday party because your dad's a hoodlum. I mean, you know who teaches their children that? Parents. Right. You know, children don't know that at 7, 8 years old that my father's a hoodlum, and I'm sure they're not reading the paper. So, you know, there was a lot of pros and cons. There's a lot of people that I couldn't date that was in a so-called political fashion. You know, you had to stick to your own kind.
No matter what he did outside, he was, first of all, he was a father.
Correct, absolutely, and one of the best fathers in the world. I mean, there's people that would wish that they had a father like mine.
And then, how did you ever come around to do the show? Were you approached, or did you really wanted to do it?
The funniest thing, and you know, it is, I've never watched a reality show in my entire life, and I do want to mention, because nobody knows this, they kept it from the show. When my father was taken in 2008, instead of, you know, putting myself back into like a mental institution, and I'm not like really saying that, I mean, what I went through, imagine that your father was just taken and never showed up to be buried. I decided to put myself back into school in my early 40s, and I enrolled in criminal justice because that was my therapy, to educate myself on what the government really did to my father. I mean, they've had him for 2.5 years without even giving him a trial. So I went back to school and I completed my associate in a year. I could not get a job in criminal justice because of my name. So what I decided to do is go on, and I did my business, bachelor's in business, and I graduated with my master's in business management. And that's how I created my wine, because I'm an entrepreneur. And so I did 3 degrees in 3.5 years, so I could say I'm pretty focused.
And being an entrepreneur, how do you balance being in the public eye and also maintain your sanity? And I know it's a very tough part when with the background and everything else. I know it's a very big challenge, especially for a woman. And I know that with a lot of coincidences that was happening, how do you think you can maintain coming from that background and then also be able to live your life the best way you can, and also actually help others with education? I know you do charity work as well.
Yes, I'm very heavily involved with cancer, because my mother had cancer. My father did have cancer at one time, and I just want to give back. So I started with the breast cancer. We're putting an event on now in Long Island with domestic violence. Because, you know, when you come through a walk of life like ours, until you really walk in somebody's shoes, you really don't know what people go through. There's so many people that live behind that white picket fence, and now the show has brought everything out that I don't have to deny anything. My life is now an open book from the show, which was the most amazing thing I could have ever done. And, you know, talk about trying to find a relationship, well, that's why I've been on my own for a long time, because it's very difficult to find a man, either to overcome if their business is, you know, being who your father was, but it's just me. So that's why when I moved to Florida, I learned what life was really about, because I left Chicago and Florida, and my father made me realize that, you know what, there's not a black and white in this world. And moving to Florida, I met people from all over the world, because you know that's, you know, everybody who lives in Florida that's not just from Florida, and for once nobody knew me as the German's daughter or my ex's wife. You know, my ex was involved as well.
How was his involvement, if you could talk?
Well, that is going to be coming out in the book, and that's very, very personal. And
now, were this marriage set up for you?
Basically, yes.
It was.
I was, you know, 22 years old. He was 33. You know, I couldn't marry the person that I wanted to get married to because his father was in politics, and so you have to stick in those days. You have to stick to your own kind, because nobody either accepts you or they don't understand. And I wasn't gonna lie. It's like when you're growing up and your father is in jail for 10 years, and you're trying to meet somebody in the professional industry, and they're like, well, we can't bring you, and your father's in the paper every day for murdering people, and you're trying to date a doctor or somebody that is professional. Those people don't want to be involved. So that's another thing people don't understand. That I didn't have any say so, but then men took it out on me, or a relationship was hindered because, you know, I could be accepted in their world. So there's so many things that will be on my book that people don't really understand that we go through every single day of our lives.
Absolutely. And then when the book will be out in stores?
Hopefully it's going to be shot. It's being shopped now, and hopefully somebody will pick it up.
Now, how did you ever come up with the idea to write the book, and what actually inspired you to actually write everything down?
I've been writing since I was a little girl. You know, I didn't live with my father, so I basically started really writing when he went away, because it was the first time that I actually was able to know him. Because, you know, not seeing him here and there, he always took care of us. But now, I had him in one place for 10 years. He wasn't leaving. They had him locked up. And I can honestly say in the 10 years that he was in Rochester, Minnesota, I never really missed a weekend. So that's how I really got to know him.
Then I know now that when you started to do your wines, what actually inspired you to do the wine? Because I know that's Pinot Noir. And then how did you ever come to the conclusion that I really want to do the wine and I want to give them the name German? First of all, the German. How were you managed to keep the name? And how were you able to do the whole look of the bottle and to actually have such a fine wine?
Well, my dad and I, that was our one goal. He had a restaurant, I had a restaurant, my ex-husband and him had a restaurant, and then I had a restaurant on my own. So
what was your first restaurant?
My dad's was the Meat Block, and that was in Old Town, and it was a steakhouse. And then we had Punchinello's, which was a restaurant in the city, and then I was managing partner of Kukla's, which, you know, nobody does know, but I am half Greek, so I'm not just German. I mean, I have to give my mother some credit here, you know.
So your mama's Greek?
Yes, my mother's Greek and my dad was German. And so the name obviously came up, the German, because he was not Italian. And, you know, everybody, obviously, that's why they gave him the nickname, the German, because he was not Italian, and he was always considered the outfit, and there was only Italians. But Chicago was a little bit different. Chicago ran with Vegas, so there was a lot of people in the outfit that were not Italian.
And now, how did your parents meet?
They grew up in the same neighborhood, and they got married very young at 17. Now I have a sister that's, you know, 60, and so I would think, you know, they say my dad came home every 5 years. No, I'm just kidding. But no. And I had a grandmother, Nora, which was my father's idol. And, you know, people don't understand, you know, my he lost his father when he was 7 years old.
What happened to his dad?
He died of pneumonia back in those days. You know, he had pneumonia, they had sulfur. So you have a little boy that's 7, and my grandfather was the first master plumber in the city, and my grandma was a dietitian. So, you know, we got a little boy on 7 running in the streets with hookers and people in prohibition. So, I mean, back then I would have taken that job too. I mean, he was a little boy taking care of his mother, and you know, there was a lot of money back in those days.
Well, and also, of course,
I would have did it. I mean.
And of course we know the movie The Godfather, the great Francis Ford Coppola, and basically, do you think the movie was very close to what was happening at the time? Do you think the facts that Coppola was presenting to public were similar?
I don't know, because you know what, when those movies really came out, I really didn't consider my father anything but a business.
You didn't know. Yeah, you didn't.
No, you just don't really, you know, I was like, that's what's the hard thing to point out. They asked me, did you know your dad was in the movie? How do I know my dad was home? I'm like, he's really going to come home and tell his 9-year-old? You know, when we got raided, they're like, oh, they're just crazy people, you know? So, you know, I see my dad go to work every day, you know, whatever. I mean, I was at his restaurant, we were very well known, so it's very difficult to say anything about your father, because he's my father. And I see him as the German, because that was his nickname, and he's German, and the dog represents Lady. You know, he loved Lady just as much as he loved me, was his German Shepherd that he had for 14 years, and that's where we came from, the bottle design of the German, the dog. It fits perfectly, German Shepherd, the German, and I think that's why they nicknamed him that, because he always had a German Shepherd by his side, Lady.
Now, so you're going to have Pinot Noir, you have different kinds as well.
I'm starting out with a Pinot Noir because that was our favorite, and also men and women love to drink Pinot Noir, because if you started with a white or too much of a heavy red, that, you know, I wanted something that women and men would both be able to enjoy.
Now, what is it?
And it was my dad and I's favorite.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
And it is very exquisite. So.
Now, what's
not being partial.
Oh, no. And what is in store for you? Are you going to do another TV show, or what is the plan for the future for you?
You know what? Coming from where I come from, I always thought my future would be different. And first I was in LA, now I'm in New York. I mean, you know, I'm fortunately, and sometimes unfortunately, I don't have any children. I was married for 10 years, never remarried for certain reasons. You usually get married once, not twice or 3 times. And so I'm on my own right now, and it's just me. So this is my life, my wine, my dream. So wherever my wine brings me is where I will land. Florida, here, I don't know. I mean, the sky's the limit to me, and I have to worry about myself. And I won't stop until my wine becomes the German, most exquisite Pinot Noir, and I take that, that theory of the German, the most feared hitman. I just want everybody to know the German and know me as his daughter, and that it's a very good wine, and nothing more or less.
Now, you live in New York right now?
I'm living in New York. I came out of LA, and I had a chance to come to New York. I'm working with a small production company. And
what's the name of the company?
It is On Track. I'm sorry, NYC Background, the one in LA. And we do casting for extras, and that's filling my time. And I was able to have a chance to come to New York through that, and hopefully I really liking it here.
That's good.
Well, I'm loving it here, yes.
New York is great. We love New York. It actually accepts people from different backgrounds, and
very much.
Because
well, you should know.
Well, of course. Well, I come from Russia.
Right, we'll talk about that. I mean, it's almost the same thing, That's why I was honored to do your magazine, because I want people to know that, nationality shouldn't stand between, because you come from heartache, we all come from some kind of heartache. And I think people are just too judgmental in this world.
And I know as a woman, in the situation that you have, what would be your encouragement for women out there? Because I know like a lot of people women in particular, go through abusive relationships, they go through bullying, they go through the society not accepting them because they come from a different background. What would be your advice? Because I know you've become a very strong woman, and you keep on going, and instead of the heartaches you had, you made yourself an excellent entrepreneur. What would be your wisdom for those ladies?
You know what? You just trust me. I've been through up and down, and especially when you're a child, you're very gullible, and other children are very cruel. They are, but you have to blame it on their parents, because, like I said, children don't know. I think the media is spun out of control, with the bullying and, all these things. So I think it stems, not everybody has solid parents, and it seems like who gets bullied more is the kids that are a little bit weaker. So the only thing I can say, especially for girls, and it's the same, boys hide it a little bit more, I think, it's just that you have to believe in yourself. You have to never let anybody say that you're better than them, because one thing my father taught me since I was a little girl, because where we came from, he would take me to not such a better area in the city of Chicago, and he would make my brother and I in our car and look at these people and say, don't ever say you're better than them, you're just more fortunate, because we all have to wake up, we breathe, we eat, and we sleep, and that's what makes every individual in this world survive. That's why we're all the same. What separates us is our world experiences, our things that we go through in life. Is the only thing that separates us between me, you, anybody in this room, is our life experiences. And so what I can say is just take it, and just never lack your self-esteem, and don't ever let anybody put you down. And the people that are doing bullying or talking behind your back, those are people that you don't want in your life. They're negative. So the best thing you can do is, anytime you see negativity, is you just walk away quietly, because I was used to not walk away quietly, so
well, that was actually, the ratings were off the roof at that show.
That's why when I was attacked, I just walked away. I didn't want to succumb into that. That was not my lifestyle. you know, you just got to look beyond. And now I've just learned to walk away from, you know, my father taught me when somebody's talking behind your back, if you stop talking to them, then they have no one else to speak to and the rebuttal will stop. If you don't rebuttal, they have no one else, eventually they'll stop. And they're not your true friends. So I would rather be alone right now in my life than be with somebody that wasn't my true friend. So I may be a little bit lonely when you eliminate the people that aren't really your friends, but at least you don't wake up with drama every day, and at least you wake up with the sense of dignity that, you know what, you either like me or you don't, and if you don't like me, then why even be in my life? Because I'm not fake. I'm not fake. I'll never be fake. I'm very honest, so some people don't like me for that. And like my dad used to always say, you know, just on a funny note, like, what you see is what you get. There's no middle. I'm not an Oreo cookie, you know. This is me, you know. And growing up now, so just be strong and never forget who you are or where you came from. And that's it. I mean, that's what's going to make you survive. Don't let anybody put you down.
Exactly. And then, you know, this is what you always ask. If you had 3 wishes that now through your experiences and what's coming for the future?
Basically for my wine to succeed, just to find somebody that, a man, not so much, you know, I don't want anybody to take care of me. I would just like to meet somebody to travel with, you know, have a, you know, like a friend. Yes, and somebody who is never going to bring up my father, who's going to accept me for me. For you. And this is what hopefully the wine will do, because this is why I chose the German, to get away from that lifestyle. He's dead, let him rest in peace, and let our family go on. Let me go on and meet somebody that knows me as Nora, and not as the German's daughter.
And then, what's the third one?
Just to keep myself surrounded with good friends.
Very good.
No.
Do you have a lot of friends? Like, as far as like you consider your good friends?
Like I can count them on my fingers. I have a lot of acquaintances. I lost a lot of people that I thought were my friends. And a lot of them came out of the woodwork during the show. Amazing after 8 years, but
was it shocking for you?
No, because
I was expecting that.
Yeah, because like I said, moving to Florida made me realize those weren't my friends. So I keep my friends, you know, where they say keep your enemies closer, your friends further. So I do have a very good group of friends. Now here in Chicago, we're sitting in their restaurant, so we can open the wine. And like I said, they're going to be my first showcase. And then also in Florida, I have 3 good friends from Boston and from Philly, all the East Coast again. That just proves, you know, that the East Coast has a little bit open mind.
Well, I'm very happy that we're here to share this first opening of the bottle right now and present it to everybody.
And thank you so much. It's been a pleasure meeting you.
Yes.
And you know, I always say, Carmen, you meet the people that you're supposed to be meeting, and I've met the most wonderful people here in New York.
And you know, we're very grateful that you actually sat with us here and you were very sincere. And I think that honesty and sincerity is very rare right now. So I honor the sincerity that you have towards us and towards the people out there. And thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. I mean, yeah, honesty is the best policy. I mean, I've been through so much in my life. I don't have time for anything in between. I just want to be real.
It goes too quick. It goes too quick like that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's open the wine.
Absolutely. We'll call the people in. And voila!
Voila, here's the German.
Yeah, the German wine. It smells. You can smell it. It's
amazing. It's wonderful.
No, straight up.
And it smells so good.
It smells amazing.
Yeah, it's
I'm not a red wine drinker. It's delicious.
And you have to know that it's still at 13%, so it's a little higher because it started at 23%, and it's only been bottled for about approximately April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, for like 8 months. So it takes about a year. So it's a little bit acidic right now, but you'll still have the flavor. It's a little bit of a chocolate, a little bit of a cherry. And as anybody saw from my wife, Chicago, because we did it from step to step.
Right.
We even had a bonus clip of the trademark attorney.
Oh,
so everybody knows, and then the bonus clip, besides the one bringing my dad up out of my girlfriend Julie, my best friend from Florida, of course, she flew in and filmed with me, and then that's when we opened up the German at the end.
Well, that's fabulous.
So everybody can join in. Gigi, thank you for
for having us.
the restaurant. Where's the manager? The owner.
This is Gigi.
Gigi. And where's the everybody here will be pouring them.
It's a beautiful.
Oh my God! I'm not being partial, but you know, my father and I always drank wine, and since I was a little girl, Chateau Lafite, he had a restaurant, and
so Pinot was basically your favorite.
Yeah, Pinot Reds were, and then hopefully we'll get into the German beer at one point. So,
absolutely.
But if you can swirl it around,
Swirl around a little bit and see the legs.
Yeah, it's got the high legs. You can see the legs. It is very, when they drip down, you can see that it's still a high content of alcohol in it, so you don't want to get wasted.
What's the content there?
It's about 13 right now.
Oh, okay.
And it's very young. It's wine has to age, but I mean it's still drinkable. And
what year is this bottle?
12.
12.
So it takes 4 months to even put it in the bottle. You have to crush the grapes, and then you have to have it ferment and all the different things. But I mean, I did this on my own, and finally the German is alive for me. And it will be the most exquisite Pinot Noir, and I will make sure that happens in life.
And we want to wish you very well.
And thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very well.
Thank you for the opportunity for this.
And for Germans to have a life
Beyond
wonderful.
Beyond, yes, a wonderful life of happiness and positive things, no more negativity in our life. I have nieces and nephews. It's their time to be able to go forward and leave the past behind.
And continue with it.
So, to the German, the most exquisite Pinot Noir. Thank you.
Thank you.